go ahead and get started today. We have kind of a really cool topic for our learning lab this very dreary Monday morning, and that is Core Present, otherwise known as Bold Trail Present. Do know that when we talk about Bold Trail or KV Core or BHHS Connect, they're all one and the same. They just have different names. The version of Bold Trail, which is what KV Core was renamed, is called BHHS. For those of us who are in the BHHS network, it's their version of what we like to call KV Core Lite or Bold Trail Lite. And that is where we will find Core Present or Bold Trail Present, depending on the materials. They just changed their name in the last couple of months. So some of the materials will say Core Present, some of them will say Bold Trail Present, but just know that they're all one and the same. I have already started to get there this morning just for the sake of time and ease of use. Lewis?
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. I am on the BHHS Resource Center. Of course, you can get to the Resource Center by clicking the BHHS button in RWT Connect, or some of you actually may go ahead and log in directly via the BHHS Resource Center login. Either way is fine, but you should land on this screen. And you'll notice that it's under this BHHS Connect button over here on the right-hand side.
Data?
There we go. All right. It's under this BHHS Connect button on the right-hand side over here. You'll see it's labeled BHHS Connect powered by Bold Trail. If you go ahead and click that, it should automatically log you into your account. Give it just a second here. I'm on my training account today, so this is going to take just an extra second longer. And it should look something like this. This is the dashboard to BHHS Connect powered by Bold Trail. Now, I want you to notice a couple of things in here before we get started. This has a lot of different tools. There's a lot of different ways to get to Core Present or Bold Trail Present. Probably the easiest way to get there, however, is using this search bar right up here at the top. And if I click on that, it's probably going to be in your dropdown under the My Products section. And if it's not, you can certainly just go ahead and type in the word present, and it'll bring it to the top for you. And this is where you get to the present feature. Now, let's give it a chance to open here, and we'll go over what Core Present has available to you. 1 second. It does take a second to load here. Okay. When this loads, I want you to notice one of the interesting things that might have been a little bit subtle here, but it does load like this. And it starts with that header at the very top with Get Ready to Win. And this is where you're going to see where you can create your presentations. So most of us are probably going to be using this for seller presentations. This is a CMA. We all call it different things, listing presentation, whatever it happens to be. And that is that button on the left. But you can also create presentations for buyers in here. So if you're looking at creating maybe a buyer tour or just some about you information, that's available in here. But the reason I said there was a little subtle change in here, if I just move my mouse just a little bit, I want to go to the top there. This section is kind of hidden when we first log in, and it does have that present logo up there at the top, but it also has your custom settings and your presentation library. I want you to know we are going to come back to those, but those are going to be really key for you in the future. Your custom settings are where we're going to go ahead and kind of customize your defaults for your presentations. And then of course your presentation library is where you can rearrange some of the materials we're going to look at today, but also create your own. So I just wanted you to know that those are at the very, very, very top. So if you're looking for them again, just know that sometimes when you log in, it looks like this. Just use your mouse and just scroll up a little bit, and there's those 2 buttons if you need them in the future. All right, I'm going to get right into this dashboard because it is really easy to create a presentation. We're going to go right into a CMA, and then we're going to kind of come back and we're going to go ahead and create a different one to go ahead and make some adjustments and some customizations. I'm going to start with the seller presentation right here. And if you know anything about Bold Trail, you know they love their start button, so we'll go ahead and click that. And it's going to take us just step by step. I know this is going to take me longer to talk about than it is to actually create, but I'm just going to show you how you can really easily create a CMA in the system. So I'm going to start with an address, and it's going to just ask me to go ahead and bring in an address and kind of the default information that's there. I am actually going to start with our usual testing address, my mother-in-law's house in Suffolk. And it's going to try to bring in the information here. Just let it go ahead and auto-populate. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Next. And it's bringing in the default information. Of course, that's coming from those property record informations. Now, this is most likely correct, but you do have an opportunity to correct it here if need be. So if you know, for example, that maybe they've put an addition on the home and it might not be in that public record, then you can go ahead and change that living size, living room or living area size in here. Maybe the bedroom count might be a little bit off. I do want to make a note here. I happen to know that this house is only 1.5 bathrooms. It is bringing in a total bath count. We're seeing this in a lot of our products right now where it's not letting us put that 0.5 if it's a 1.5 or a 2.5. It's trying to give us that total bath count instead. Just know that the default in here is for total bath count, but I happen to know this house is a 1.5, so it's a good one to use as an example. This is all we need to do. If we don't want to change any of the information in here, we don't have to bring in any comparable details. We can go skip right to a presentation and get the default presentation. It's going to bring in a bunch of default information. I want to go ahead and show you what that looks like to show you how quick and easy this is. We'll come back to the comparable details later, but let's go ahead and skip right to the presentation. We've given it a subject property. We've confirmed our property data, and we're going to skip right to the presentation. Give it just a second to load here. This is how fast and easy this is going to go ahead and bring in that information that's on here. So it's giving us our subject property. Anytime you see any of these little pencils, we do have the ability to edit this. But if we scroll down, notice that it's already just bringing in some of the information, the value of an agent. What is my home worth? And it's starting to bring in those comparables that are available in here. And it's gone ahead and picked in those defaults. Now, again, we're going to go back and I'm going to show you how you can create those and bring in the very specific information in here. But I wanted you to see what it looks like just to go ahead and create a very, very quick presentation if need be. So it's starting to bring in some of our additional slides in here as well. We happen to be in presentation mode. Maybe you want a really quick CMA. Maybe you don't want all the presentation pieces. You just want to see what a CMA would look like. This is where we can change some of those settings right up here at the top. I want you to notice these presentation settings. You can easily default and switch between different types of presentations in the system. So in this case, we're in presentation mode. Maybe I want to just switch to CMA. Notice that it's taken out all of what I like to call the fluff, all the information about choosing the right agent and pricing a home right. And it's just going to go ahead and give us that CMA overview, that big picture, and what's happening in the market. I'll go ahead and preview that so you can see what that looks like right here. You could even add a slide if you wanted to, but you got the core 4 pieces right here just by switching into CMA mode. Maybe you just want a nice quick one-sheeter. Maybe you already have a big presentation. You just want something that has a really quick, nice presentation mode. You're going to take it with the listing presentation that's already available from BHHS, or you're going to take it with the seller's guide that's available from your marketing department. Maybe you've done a really nice presentation in Toolkit CMA. We have lots and lots of different options for you to create your listing presentations. Maybe you just want a really, really nice, well-presented one-sheeter that has some of this additional market information in it instead. You can switch that mode. From that big presentation, we've gone down to that 4-page CMA, and now I'm going to drop down to that single-page preview instead. So here's that single-page preview, and it's going to have the subject property. It's going to have some basic information. It's going to have some samples. It's going to have some comparable criteria review on here and kind of where we should be pricing this and what's active and things like that. So we can actually drop down to just a single page if we wanted to, just to get a nice quick overview. If you don't want to do anything more than this, I'm actually going to switch back to that CMA mode here real quick. You can certainly go ahead and preview this in either the web version or the PDF version by clicking this button over here on the right. So if you want to see what it would look like in PDF version, of course, that's going to be in a slightly different format. You can click next and it's going to show you that PDF piece. And if we're done and we don't want to do anything more here, we can go ahead and present and share. In our present and share mode, we have the ability to save and add a client. This is going to add it to our dashboard, so we can always get back to this later. We do have some additional features. I'm going to show you this in customization. But if it's as easy as we want to present this to a client while we're sitting in front of them, maybe on our tablet or something like that, we can certainly open the presentation. It's going to give us that web version. We can email the presentation or we can download and print. I happen to be in test mode, so my email the presentation is not there unless I add a client to this. But we can also certainly download and print if we need to. You'll notice that that automatically downloaded for me. And I'm going to open this PDF so that you can see what this looks like. And you can see what this presentation is starting to look like here. There's that address. It's bringing in some basic information. It's showing us a map. It's going to show us some different comps and how they relate to each other. I'm going to show you how you can edit some of this in the future. And again, there's those pending and closed comps as well. Some additional details. And this is what the presentation is starting to look like here. So this happens to be a house that sold fairly recently, and some additional comps that are available, and some more information. So just kind of trying to show you the nuts and bolts here of just how easy it is to create a presentation. But let's go back and actually put in some of the actual slides and information and kind of take a look at all of the different details that are available here. If I don't need to save this, I can go back to my home. If I do need to save this, I can go ahead and add that client. You can search for a client that already exists in your system. I happen to have one already, George Seller. If you don't have a client created in the system yet, you can certainly just go ahead and add them right from here. You just need their first name, last name, and email address. So I'm just going to put Mary Seller in here, and then Mary Seller at fakeemail.com just for testing here. Click add. It's really easy. You don't have to put any additional details in there at all. And now it is saved this presentation. You can certainly, take a look at this. You can go back, you can add more, you can change your mode, you can change your style, you can add more slides to it in the future if you need to, or you can just leave it here and it'll be back on your presentation dashboard. I clicked present home. That's going to take you right back to your dashboard, but I wanted you to see what that looks like down here. So here is win the listing. Here is Mary Seller. There's two versions of this. I can go ahead and update this if I need to. So if this is something you worked on maybe a month or two ago and you need to go ahead and update your comps, you can certainly go ahead and click that. It's going to take you back to choosing comps and choosing something different in the future. You can certainly change your mode. You can also see some analytics here, things that you can either look at the web presentation, the PDF version, whether it's been opened by your client if you happen to email it, and you also have actions to be able to email it to yourself or to your client, or you can certainly go ahead and delete it here as well. But let's take a look at building a presentation kind of in large mode, and let's look at all those details. So I'm going to go ahead and start another presentation. We're going to use that same address again. So we're going to do 1710 Colonial Ave in Suffolk, PA. There we go. And it's bringing in, again, that default information. So it is a single family. It is a 3-bedroom. I do know that that bath count is 1.5, but again, it's not going to let me change it to 1.5. It's going to want that total bath count. I do know that this living area size is correct. This is picking up the addition that was put onto this house, and it definitely was built in 1957. So instead of going to skip to presentation, let's go ahead and try to manipulate this presentation a little bit. Let's try to choose some comps. Let's see what all the things that are available are. If I go to choosing those comps, it's going to bring in an option here, and it's this really large map format. One of the reasons I show you that presentation to begin with is so that you can see all the different things that we're choosing in order to get to that mode. So you happen to know, hopefully you've done some MLS research on here and you know which comps you want to choose, but you can certainly start to take a look at them in here as well. I want you to see a couple of different things here. You have the ability to auto bring in comps, which is what this is trying to do. It's kind of putting that radius around it. It's giving you those options of all these little dots. So I want you to know that the red means that it is sold, the orange means it is under contract or pending, and the green is either the subject property or it's going to be sold properties in here. Or excuse me, active properties. You'll notice that you have a lot of these little gray pins though. So you have this gray one that's right here that has this orange ring around it. You have a gray one here that has this red ring around it. This means that the property that is located here is just outside kind of the set criteria range. So maybe we need to adjust this a little bit to maybe bring in homes that have an additional bedroom, or maybe we need to adjust down the year built or something like that. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in here as well. The nice thing about this is all of these properties are interactive. So if you want to double check something, so let's take a look at maybe this property right here. It's fairly close to where this home is, which is right here. I'm going to take a look at this one. And it's going to let me know that the sale price was $365, 4 bedrooms, 2 total baths. It's a little bit smaller. I don't remember what this house looks like, so let's go ahead and just look at it for more info. And this is telling me that it was built in 67, which is not a bad comp. It's been remodeled. It is definitely a brick ranch. They've obviously done some work on this. It looks like they've painted the brick. It looks like they've done kind of our traditional white and gray flip on this home. You know, this might not be a bad comp to be able to add into there. So we could certainly go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and click that, and I can say add to comps. So it's going to go ahead and add that to that comp, even though it was gray. Now we have that sold that is there. And now notice that it is now bright red on here, which means we've added it to comps. So it's pulling in those auto comps. You can also add manual comps if you need to. If you wanted to go ahead and just add a bunch of MLS numbers that you know exist that you want to use for this particular property, you can do that as well. You just go ahead and put a comma in between. So if you're looking at something like rain and you want, 105 4464, comma, and then just keep adding those. Here's the other nice thing. You can add an off MLS comparable if you need to. So if you know that something was maybe sold for FSBO that was in the neighborhood and you need to add it manually because you have the information from the tax record, you can certainly go ahead and do that as well. All it's going to do is require you to put in some basic information. It's going to try to start pulling in some of the public record information. And if you need to add optional fields, these are pretty traditional MLS fields in here as well. You can certainly add those as well. And you can add that comparable in here as well. So do know that you do have that option to add the off MLS comparable if you need to. If you need to adjust some of this information, you can in order to make it more accurate. I happen to know that this subject property, of course, is a 1957 brick rancher. So we're probably going to want to go ahead and eliminate any of the new construction that might be across the road. We might want to eliminate a couple of other things, maybe to bring in some more comps. We want to go ahead and maybe take a look at maybe adding that additional bedroom. I happen to know in this particular home that they did close in the garage. It can be used as a bedroom because there is a closet in it. They use it as a family room right now, but it could 100%, because it has its own door, also be used as a bedroom if need be. So let's go ahead and take a look at these different options here. We have the property type. So right now we're going to stay on single family because that's what this is. For our purposes of our comps here, maybe we want to take this to 3 to 4 bedrooms, and all you do is use the sliders right here, or you can use that edit function. So now it's starting to bring in additional properties. Our total bath count, remember again, this isn't going to let us put that half bath in. So our total bath count is 2. It's trying to pull in things that match 2, but our total count range is going to be anything from 1 to 10. We're just going to go ahead and leave that for right now. Square footage, it's defaulting to plus or minus 20%. I'm okay with this for this particular property. If you need to adjust that for whatever you happen to be working with, you can certainly just use these sliders that pull it out. Year built, so we can also change that year. So this is a 1957 rancher. A 2025 new construction is not going to make any sense for comps. So let's maybe drop this down to 1940 to maybe 1980. And then if we make any changes, we can just go ahead and click those little check marks. Notice it's eliminated most of the new construction now across the road, which is what we wanted. You can certainly change your close date. This one happened to default to 6 months. This is pretty okay for this area, but we know that some areas are hotter or cooler than others. If you need to extend that out because the home is very unique, maybe you're looking at a historic property or maybe something that's a little more rural, you can certainly pull that out a little bit further. If it's a really hot neighborhood and things turn over really quickly and you want to bring those comps down because prices are changing quick, you can certainly go ahead and do that as well. And then if you need to change your total lot size, you can certainly do that. And the nice thing is, for those of us who hate to remember the square footage versus acreage, you can always go ahead and toggle between square footage and acreage. I can never remember the formula to do that. I know other people can't, and then other people love to rattle it off and remember how much square footage is in an acre. I can't do it. All right. And then, of course, you have those add-ons down here as well. So if you do need to go ahead and add on an MLS, you can do it right here as well, or you can add an off-market MLS. So you can get to it from both places. Let's take a look at that map again real quick, because I do know that when we kind of pulled things in, we might have pulled in a different property. We've pulled one just outside the radius here. Notice that I adjusted that map by clicking that plus and minus section over here. And if I click maybe on this property, which is active, because don't forget, we didn't have that many actives in here. We only had an active match is 0. We had 1 pending match and 6 sold. So let's see if we can find an active real quick. So this property happens to be 389.9. It was listed 321, 3 bedrooms, 3 total baths. So we might want to go ahead and look up this information and see what the actual bath count is on here. I'm going to guess it's 2.5. And it's a little bit larger, but let's take a look at more info. It's going to let us bring up that home here. Wow, look at that. It's a brick rancher. It was built in 76. They have a converted garage. This might be a perfect comp to be able to use. Great deck. This home is extremely similar to the home that we're looking at selling in style and in features. This will definitely work for us, and it's not too far away, even though it's just outside our radius. So remember, again, we can go ahead and click that property and we can add to comps. And it's, even though it's not going to be inside that radius, it's going to turn that to that bright green here. And now we have an active match on here as well. So if this is as far as you want to go and you're ready to skip to the presentation and you want to go right back to that presentation section that we were on, you can go ahead and skip to the presentation. But I'm going to go take you through each and every step right here. So let's go ahead and build that CMA. So let's just give it a second here. It's bringing in some of our additional matches that we had. And it's going to go ahead and bring in some of that information. Now, remember, this is the reason why I showed you that presentation to begin with. Here's that one sheeter, essentially. Here's that information that was available in the CMA. So we have this pricing analysis that's done for this particular address. Here's what's in the market analysis. We can edit our search criteria if we need to, but this is any adjustments that we have made. So remember, we've made that 3 to 4 bedroom adjustment, and there it's going to show. There we go. This is where you can start to make your own information and you can start to add things in here. So if we needed to add our own price, we could certainly do that. So this would be our recommendation. So if we needed to make a minimum or maximum range, we could certainly add that. Or we could add a fixed price if we are at that point in the conversation with someone. So I'm going to say for this house that I'm looking at maybe 350 to maybe 360. That's pretty accurate actually on here. So that's my range. And notice that it's labeled it here. So I'm logged in as Mary Agent right now. And I'm saying on this little chart that we have right here that I'm looking at 350 to 360. I happen to know this home, which is essentially across the street, sold not that long ago. It doesn't have as much square footage, but it does have the same bedrooms and baths. It recently sold for 350. This home happened to be more renovated than the subject property. So, you know, there's some trade-off in here. We have this highest active right now. There's only 1 active. Obviously, if there's more actives, it's going to show on here as well. And then here's our highest sold at 394 in this particular property. So you can certainly adjust this, and you can also see what's available on this different chart. And you can adjust what's available on this chart by clicking on these buttons right here. So you can add more comps on here if you wanted to. So if I'm going to click on the comps on here, and these little stars are how we highlight things. So maybe we want to go ahead and highlight this particular property as well to show on that comp piece. So we can certainly go ahead and feature it instead of just liking it. That'll make it show up on both the map and show up on that detail. It's showing some of the different closed homes that we have on here. So remember, we were only showing that highest price or the one that recently sold, but if we needed to highlight some of the other ones as well, maybe we wanted to go ahead and highlight this Manning Road as well to show up on there. Maybe it's something we need to talk about. We can certainly do that. Let's go ahead and pop this one on here as well. Just trying to give it some options just so you can see what it looks like. We can certainly feature that as well on here. But notice it's letting us look at all of these different pieces. And notice that chart has now changed. So as we start to have a conversation with this seller, we can say, you know, this is your one that's active right now. This one's sold, but here's what's going on with this house. Here's one that's pending. Here's what's going on in this house. And you can see that this is going to be my range right in here. It's right in line with some of the additional ones that have sold, but maybe had an extra bedroom, things like that. You can also show different trends that are on here. Right now, we're only showing the average price on here, but if I wanted to show active properties with different pieces, we can certainly do that as well. So maybe I want to show the highest price and the average price. I can show pending price, or for our pending properties, I can show average price, highest price, lowest price, nearest, whatever it happens to be. Some of these trends will work better for some homes than others. If you're working with a property that doesn't have a lot of comps, maybe it's a little bit more rural, maybe you need to see something that's nearest, we can certainly do that. Maybe you're working in a really hot, active market and you want to show something that is most recent and you want to show those on the map, you can certainly do that as well. Maybe you need to show something that has a feature. Maybe this is something that you need to talk about with this subject property. I happen to know that this property does not have a garage because this garage was converted. It gave us the extra bedroom that we needed in this particular house. Maybe you need to highlight the fact that something sold because it did have a garage and that's why the price is going to be higher. So you can certainly go ahead and add those as well to be able to just highlight if they ask, why did the neighbor's house across the street sell for $375? And you can say, well, it had a 2-car garage to it. And those are the conversations that you need to have. So if you need to show properties with particular features, you can certainly do that. There are more features on here. In this case, the system knows that comps are based on particular features. And if a particular house doesn't have a particular feature, it's not going to show. So for example, maybe one of these houses that sold had a pool. Maybe that makes the difference in the price. So it might show up here as a pool as well, or if the exterior had something in particular, if the interior had something else. This is only showing our comparable features. If you need to show all features for whatever reason, there is a toggle button right here for that. And you can see some of this just doesn't matter. So this one doesn't have a pool. None of these properties are waterfront that would make a difference in the price. None of these homes have a basement. Maybe we want to talk about the home that has a deck instead. We could say yes to that as well. You do have the option to choose between active and pending and closed as well. So if you do need to take a closer look at some of the closed properties and why the price might be a little bit different and add those to the map, you could certainly do that as well. I want you to see what that's starting to look like right now as we continue to add some additional properties on here. You can add estimates on here. This is fun. If you happen to know that you might be in a competing situation and maybe you already know that so-and-so agent might have given them an estimated price, you could certainly add that on here as well. You could add an AVM price in here. Maybe you want to talk about this estimate and you want to add this estimate. So maybe we'll say something like Zestimate. And maybe this estimate comes in really low on this house because, you know, estimates are sometimes wrong. And maybe it comes in at 340 on here. And we want to go ahead and add that as well. We can certainly do that. And that way you can have that chart and you can kind of talk about all of those different pieces on here as well. And then you can talk about some outliers as well. We talked about this with those properties that I eliminated from the map. Some of those may have had something to do with square footage. Some of those may have had to do with year built. This is where you can add properties on here that are based on a conversation. So if he knows that there's a property around the corner and you're like, well, that one sold for 410. How come that one sold for 410? Well, it was new construction and it was built in 2024. That's why it sold for 410. You can certainly go ahead and add those onto this chart as well in here. So you can kind of play around with this and add a bunch of different features and add a bunch of different homes to it just to be able to have those conversations about where you are in your pricing. So you can see that we've added not only additional homes, but here's those trends that we added. Here's that highest average comp, the average of the active comps, the on market that have decks. Notice that they're a little bit higher than what we're recommending. On market comps with the garages, again, a little bit higher than what we're recommending. The average of the pending comps. And then, of course, the average of the closed comps. And we know those are the last 6 months or so. So this is where you have those conversations based on those trends. And if we continue on down, it's going to let us know the average monthly list and sale price, whether it is a fresh or stale. So obviously this is a very fresh market right now, as most of our market is. How often things are selling based on all of these comps that we've chosen, the price per square footage, pricing rate of change. So in this case, we're not seeing a lot of price changes in this particular sector. And then our current active shelf life, there's 80 days of comp sitting on the site. So it's pretty accurate compared to what we're seeing coming out of our market right now. Now, if we don't want to go any further, we can certainly just go ahead and save this CMA and move on. So again, if we wanted to save that CMA only, we would go ahead and click that button. We would assign this to a person, or we could go ahead and add that person, and it would take us back to present home. So this is very similar to what we just did if we wanted to go ahead and just save the CMA and not go any further. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and create our presentation, and let's go ahead and look at all the presentation pieces that are available as well. Give it just a second to add all of this additional information in here, and we'll take a look at the presentation and the different pieces that you can change and how you can move things around. This is probably the longest part of this whole process right here, is just gathering all the information. There we go. All right. So remember I said that you had a couple of different things that you could do to change the information that's in here. So our preview is going to be over here on the right. We can also make some changes over here. And then all of our different slides are going to be over here on the left. We can change the emphasis and the order really easily just based on the defaults that are already in the system. I want you to see what that looks like right here. That's that first button. So the default order is just the agent default. This is what is just basic into the system. We can also change this just to emphasize things in a different order. So this one is a contingency. This is, their current home is holding them back from their next move. Their main hurdle is feeling comfortable that the home is priced right and that your marketing plan will get the job done. What this is going to do is that in the presentation, it's going to float some of that pricing and market information higher into the presentation. You have another option called I'm Shopping You. This is about the seller not questioning the timing or value, that their only hurdle is choosing which agent. So this is going to move some of that information about you and about what you can do for your clients and all of the other stuff up to the top of that presentation. And then we have an option called Make Me List. This is the seller is interested in selling, but only motivated to list when they can get top dollar. The hurdle is understanding why now is the right time to get top dollar and why you're the one to get it. And this kind of changes that option to float more of the stats to the top and starts to give you more relevant information. I'm going to leave it on the default order for right now, just so you can see what that looks like. You also can change the theme, and this is really going to change kind of the font and the color and the layout a little bit. We do have this traditional theme, which is what we're looking at right here. It's a fairly nice theme. I'll show you a couple of other slides that go with that. There you go. You can also change that to modern as well. This is going to give you that more block feel, that more text feel. It's going to be a little less avatar-y and have a little less icons to it. It's a really nice feel to it. You also have the ability to have this kind of luxury feel to it as well. So this is going to give you that silver and that black with that luxury feel, and it's going to bring in some very different imagery than you had in that first presentation. So just know that you have luxury, modern, and traditional, and it does change the layout and change the color a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it on traditional so you can see what that looks like. And again, we're in presentation mode, but if you needed to, you can always switch again. We already looked at that CMA mode, which is just going to give you the CMA. It's going to give you the stats. And you can also go back and just go to that single page preview if you want to, and notice that it did bring in all of the additional information that we had changed in all of our different criteria here. So this is what our traditional agent default presentation looks like. And you can start to see the slides, and I'm going to show you how you can move some of this around. So we have lots of different sections, and these are default slides that are in here. We will show you how you can change those and customize those. But you have things like the value of an agent, and this is pretty typical real estate information that's all been vetted. And it's going to show you the different why am I the right agent on here. It's going to start to give you that CMA overview on here. This is under the what is my home worth section. So here are all the different slides for that. I'm just going to click on a few of them so you can see it. If you need to add a slide, you can certainly do that. So if you wanted to go ahead and add a slide, if you just click on that, it's going to bring up all of the different slides that are available under those different sections. So this particular one is what's my home worth. It's showing the CMA overview and that big picture scale that we made. But you do have some other options under this one. We have pricing misconceptions, and we also have where do buyers get their info. Might be an interesting conversation, especially, we talked about this. Maybe the online estimates are wrong. Maybe you do need to talk about some of that information and why that online estimate might be incorrect on here. So we can certainly go ahead and add that slide by just clicking on it and putting add selected slide. It'll go ahead and add that in here for us. We have another section called the market analysis. Again, that's bringing in more stats, why pricing correctly is important. We can go ahead and add more slides in here if we need to as well. We have that marketing and buyer. So we have the buyer demand, the buyer interest, what your marketing plan will be. We don't use core social, so we can go ahead and pull that out. You can pull out any slide you want to, and hopefully you saw that by just clicking that little X up there in the upper right-hand corner. It'll just take it out of your presentation. And then, of course, we have next steps, which is basically just a thank you slide in here. We are previewing this right now in web mode, but we can certainly preview it in PDF mode if we want to as well. It does change the look and feel of it just a little bit, but you can certainly see what that looks like. And if we're done with our presentation, we've added a slide, we have all of our comps, we have all of our information in here. We can do that as well, and we can get ready to present and share. Before I do that, I just want you to notice this little toggle button right here that you can include a page for every listing if you need to. So I think we had 9 total comps in our system. And if we wanted to do that, it can say, it's going to ask us if we're really sure we want to do this. But it can add an additional slide for every single listing so that you can talk about it if you need to versus just the overview. I'm not going to do that today because it does take a minute to go ahead and build, but do know that you do have that toggle to include a page if you want to. So if I go ahead and click present and share up at the top, this means I'm finished. And again, we can go ahead and do some changes on here if we need to. So we can go ahead and save or add a client. So we can certainly look in here and let's assign this to George Seller, who already exists for us, or we can go ahead and add that client if we need to. Remember, all we need is a first name, last name, and an email address. This is where we can start to do some extra things here. So we can add a listing agreement link in here if we have it. So if you have a link that you would like them to sign, if we're really at that point, you can certainly do that. This is only if you're sharing it, obviously. You can add a net sheet. So if you have a range of prices, or maybe you want to talk about a couple of different price options that they have available in here, you could certainly fill out as much or as little of this information as you need to. But it does have a little net sheet slide that you can certainly add in here. This net sheet slide is by default. I can't add anything to this, so use it as needed. Sometimes you have to bring your own. You can add a video link to this. So if you have a great introduction video, if you want to just have something about you, maybe about your marketing plan, maybe you want to include a video sample of something that you do. So maybe you hire a great photographer and videographer and they do a great video for your listings. You can certainly go ahead and maybe add that URL in here so they can see what a sample of some of your marketing plan might look like. Use that in different ways. If you're going to be presenting this, you can certainly go ahead and open that presentation. I'm not going to go ahead and click that, but you can open this presentation. You can certainly sit in front of them with maybe a tablet or your laptop and go through this presentation right in front of them. You can email this presentation to yourself or to your clients, or you can download and print. This is still processing right here for download and print. There we go. It should be ready. And it's going to go ahead and download that and pop that right into my downloads. And we can certainly take a look at this information. There we go. And this is what the traditional one looks like. And this is our PDF and information on here. We can also copy this link. We don't use this very often on here, but we can copy the link if we need to. Don't forget that because we went ahead and saved this presentation and we assigned it to a client, it is now available in our dashboard. So if we go back to present home and we go back to that dashboard and we kind of scroll down here, we're working with the same listing, so we just keep reassigning it to a different person here. But there is the information and when it was last updated. If we need to update this for whatever reason, we can certainly go ahead and click update. We can change our comps if we need to come back to it. And again, we have that presentation in web mode. We can get that PDF if we need to. We have those analytics to see if anybody has opened it. We can certainly delete it if we need to as well. Creating a buyer presentation is basically the same thing. You can go ahead and put in your information and it's going to go ahead and bring in some additional content and some information just about buyer representation instead. I'm going to go ahead and show you those slides in just a second. It looks like we might have had a question in chat. Let me double check here. Which is better to send to a client, an email or a PDF? It really depends on the client that you're working with. You know, a lot of times we don't present these on email. A lot of times we'll go ahead and download and take the PDF with us to an appointment. And I would think that that's the majority of what we do versus emailing it and kind of giving them a flat presentation. that doesn't have a whole lot of explanation behind it, but there are certainly cases for emailing a presentation and being able to call somebody on the phone, especially if maybe they're relocating or out of the area, and going over that presentation with them as well. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look here toward the end at some of our custom settings, and then of course our presentation library, and that way you can see how you can adjust some of these slides for yourself. So let's go ahead and take a look at those custom settings first. And this is going to try to bring in information that's also available already in your profile that's available in BHHS Connect. Now remember, your BHHS Connect profile is actually pulled in from your BHHS profile itself. If some of your information is incorrect in your BHHS profile, just let us know. We can certainly get one of our roster managers to help correct that and get some of that information corrected as well. But let's take a look at customizing some of the presentation and some of your information. If you're going to do anything and you're going to use Core Present or Bold Trail Present, this is where you're going to want to actually start and make sure that all of your information is in here as well. So this is your homework for after this class if you're thinking about using this. Let's go ahead and personalize our content. One of the things we're going to want to do is maybe add an About Me slide and maybe some testimonial slides into this. You can certainly go ahead and edit these. So you're going to have an edit button right here for the About Me. And this is a slide that's literally about you. So you can put whatever you need to in here. And it's going to allow you to have some options. It's going to try to bring in your photo. And again, this is my test account, so it doesn't have my photo in here, but your photo should populate in here because it's being brought in from the BHHS Resource Center. It's going to have some of your basic bio information. If your bio doesn't pre-populate in here for whatever reason, you can certainly go ahead and add it into this section over here on the right-hand side. So this is an About Me section. And you can also bold things. You can change the font size. There's that About Me section. You have the ability here to also add an additional display image. Don't forget, it is going to bring in your headshot here. Maybe you want to put a team image here. Maybe you want to put maybe a candid. Maybe you want to put something, a typical house that you've sold or something like that. You can certainly do that as well. If you don't want an additional image here for whatever reason, you can certainly toggle that on and off. And there's me with one of my dogs, Teak. That would certainly show you a lot of personality about me as an agent, but you can add an additional photo here if you want to. If you make any changes at all, just hit save and continue, and it'll take you back to that customized screen. You can also add testimonials, and there is a great testimonial slide in here as well. You can add up to 3 testimonials in this slide, but there is a way to add an additional link if somebody wanted to get more information. So this is where you can go ahead and add testimonials. So this is Amazing Agent with my client. Maybe we add something like, I would work with them again. Another client name down here. And great job. Just use that as an example. Go. If you don't have 3 testimonials that you want to use on here, maybe you want to use one really great long one for a seller, you can certainly go ahead and hide these testimonials as well. So if you don't want to use number 3, you can certainly use the little hide function right here. It'll just take it off the screen. If you want to link to additional testimonials, maybe you want to say something like learn more about me or see more happy clients, you can certainly add a link. So maybe you want to add a link to your website that has all of your testimonials on it on your testimonial section, or maybe you've really built out your Google business profile and you have a lot of really happy clients on there and you want to go ahead and just put your Google profile on here as well. You can certainly do that. So you can add a link title. People will be able to see this. So maybe you say something like more happy clients and then go ahead and add that link URL and they can certainly go ahead and click that. Once you've made any changes, go ahead and hit save and that'll go ahead and save it for your slide. Now, remember I said that you also have the ability to customize your presentations. So your default presentation is your traditional presentation. And if you want to go ahead and edit those slides that are available every single time you log in, you can certainly go ahead and do that. I'm going to hit the edit button on here. And it's going to allow you to edit some slides, edit some colors, edit some information. So I'm customizing this for myself. And I have some options here. So I have my themes and I can add, like, there's a border that goes around it. It changes this to a curve. You have some additional options here. This is a really heavy kind of color. If you're planning on printing something out, you might not want to go with the black on black version here. You do have the ability to change your default colors. Mine happen to be black and white on here, but if you wanted to certainly go ahead and add your primary color as the Cabernet, you can certainly do that. You can change your fonts on here as well. So if they're available in here as, I'm actually trying to lower this a little bit. Might help us here. There we go. If you are using a particular font, maybe in the rest of your presentation and marketing materials, you can certainly choose something that's fairly close on here. So you can go ahead and change that. It's gonna have the default fonts in here. This is a big one. We do have a default font, or do have a default logo in here for our company. Obviously, we want to go ahead and keep that one. But if you do have some name styling, or maybe you have a team logo, you can certainly go ahead and add that in here as well. There is an option to add your logos. And then you can change where your info placement is located. If you're somebody who is a very agent forward agent and you want to have your information right there at the top, you can certainly do that. You can also move your information to the bottom if you really want kind of the meat of the presentation to be on the top. If you've made any changes, you can certainly hit save and continue. There we go. And then you can also change your order, and you can change the slides that are available in your next screen. So remember, we had the toggle on and toggle off feature. It works the same way in your slides. Maybe you've gone ahead and filled out the About Me section. You want to go ahead and turn that slide on. There it is. And you can click on any of these slides to see what they look like as well. So that's going to bring in, again, that's going to have your headshot in there. Mine doesn't happen to be loaded in my testing account. There's my photo I added. This is my little About section I had. Maybe we want to go ahead and make sure that in our default presentation, we also include our testimonials. And then you can certainly see things like maybe we want to talk about the home selling process. These are all slides that are available. This is a great place to start if you just want to see what all the slides are too. Realtor versus an iBuyer. We don't really have that in our market, so we don't really use that one very often. If you want to set what people can see in your CMA under what's my home worth, maybe we want to talk about where do buyers get their info. We can certainly toggle that on. That'll become part of our default. In our market analysis, we can maybe toggle on what factors influence pricing or the importance of opening weekend. Maybe you do a bunch of things with opening weekend. Marketing and buyer activity, we can maybe toggle off the buyer demand and the buyer interest. Maybe we're going to go ahead and use our BMA from buy side instead of using the slides that are built into this. Maybe that's going to be additional to what we have there. We can certainly take that out. And then, of course, you can toggle on and off other things. And under our next steps, that's really, we just have that closing and next steps. But if you want to add your own thank you, you can certainly do that as well. The different presentations have different orders. Remember I said that we had different focuses, and notice that it's moving some things around on here. And if you want to also move things around in your default, all of this is pick-upable and draggable. So maybe we have the value of an agent. We want to move that up top. We just literally pick up those little dots and drop it in place. And we can certainly move these things around. You can move your sections around too. So maybe even if you're in the win listing default, maybe you want to put what is my home worth first, you can certainly do that by clicking and dragging the whole section and moving it down below. If you've made any changes at all, just click save and continue, and you're done. Now you can also do that for your modern presentation and your luxury presentation. And that way you can see what all the different slides look like, and you can customize them as well. So we just did the traditional today, but changing the modern and the luxury is exactly the same if you want to see those as well. All right, and one last thing, let's take a look at our entire presentation library. So again, I'm in Present, I'm at the very, very top, and here's that presentation library. This is all of the slides that are available. We have a couple of options here. If you want to see every single slide, it's right over here. And it's all in alphabetical order. It's not in the order of the presentation, so they're nice and easy to find. You can certainly see the About Me. Here's your buyer agent compensation, your cover sheet, your home buying process, things like that. So you can see the entire library over here on the left. You can certainly change it and kind of click through here. This is your default. You can change your theme settings here. So if you want to see what this would look like in modern, you can certainly see what your default looks like in modern. You can also see what it looks like in luxury. There you go. And then probably the question we get asked the most is, how can I add my own slides and make my own content? Super easy. Under that customizable presentation, or excuse me, under the presentation library, you do have this create or add a slide. It's right up here at the top. There's a button that says add a slide. And it's nice and easy to add a slide. It gives you lots and lots of different kind of layout options over here as well. We do have layout options, but I wanted you to notice this button right down here at the bottom that says upload your own content. If you have your own PDF that you would like to upload, or something that's already been created, maybe marketing has created a piece for you based on your marketing presentation. Maybe you want to upload a piece that is available from the BHGIS library that's available in a PDF and things like that as well. You can certainly upload your own content in here as well. Most of the time, we're probably creating our own slides and just adding some information. A couple of things that you can do for adding some of your own information. If you are actively working maybe a neighborhood or two and you want to add a slide about why you're such a great pick as an agent for that particular neighborhood because you have great success there and you've sold it, or maybe you live there and you know the neighborhood, that's a great slide to add. It's going to let us pick how many photos we want. So maybe we want to talk about how great we are in the neighborhood and we've got some comps that we've done, or maybe we have some great neighborhood photos. We can certainly do that. So let's pick something with 2. It's going to give us our layout options. You can certainly kind of peek through here and take a look and see what might work for you. All right. I'm going to grab this one here real quick. Let's grab this one. And it's going to show us the different options that we have. So it's going to give us a headline here. It's going to give us some text, and then we can add 2 photos. It's giving us the sizing that we want for our photos right here. If you have trouble with this sizing for whatever reason, you can certainly let us know in marketing. We can give you some help here, or maybe you're working in something like Canva or something like that. It does give you the ability to resize photos into something very specific. These are the very specific sizes that it's looking for. So maybe we want to say something like, and all we have to do is click, by the way. We can enter a headline here and we can say your neighborhood realtor. And we can talk about how great we are in this neighborhood because we live here. There we go. And don't forget, there's those options again. You can have some bold, you can have some bullet marks here. We have some font sizes we can change. We can also change some of our line spacing and things like that. Some basic options. And then of course you do have the ability again to add some photos. Maybe this is great. You want to add an entryway or some houses that are typical in here. Maybe something that you've already sold. Just going to add a couple of things in here just so that you can see what it looks like. There we go. So notice that those photos weren't sized quite correctly, so it's not filling the space. It's just going to go ahead and add the photos in there, but it is going to give them a little bit of a border. So if you don't have them sized quite right, it's going to be okay. And then we can go ahead and add this photo to our library. Before we do that, we need to give this slide a name. By the way, they will be able to see this slide name, especially if it's in web mode. So make sure that it is something that's appropriate. So we can say something like your neighborhood expert. And then if you want to be able to find this in the future, you can certainly add some tags in here. If you're a person who likes to add a lot of different pages, some tags might help you find it a little bit faster. You can certainly add those. And if you need to add it to a category, you can certainly do that. We're obviously talking about being a neighborhood expert, so maybe that's under the Why Am I a Right Fit? So this is really talking about us. So let's go ahead and add that in there. And that way it adds to the right category when you're kind of moving things around, and you can toggle it on and off. And then we can save and add it to our library. And now it's under the Why Am I a Right Fit? And it's all branded to me. And here's your neighborhood realtor, how great we are in this neighborhood because we live here. Here's some photos that we've added in here. And now this slide is going to be available for our presentation as well. So really, really easy to add slides and add your own content. Again, just add a slide and you can choose from slide layouts with 1 through 4 photos. You can also choose just text only. So maybe you want to add an additional slide of testimonials. You can certainly do that. Maybe you want to talk about a marketing plan. You can certainly do that as well. Lots of different reasons to do this kind of stuff. There are some that only have headlines and photos and no additional text in here as well. So maybe this is happy clients or some other slide. You can use your imagination on here. And again, you can add your own content. So if you want to add a single slide or add a video slide or even add a full presentation if you want to, you can certainly do that as well. Again, if you make any changes, add and save to library. I'm going to go back to the present home screen just so that we can review real quick. So we talked about a seller presentation. The buyer presentation, I'll go ahead and let you guys play with this one, but it is the same thing. You're going to go ahead and just put in that buyer information, and it's going to go ahead and have a lot of slides that are available for a buyer as well. You can go with the full presentation, or you can just have a CMA, or you can just have a single sheet that just has a market analysis overview on it. You do have the ability to customize your settings on here. So this is going to be about adding a bio, or again, adding your testimonials, or changing your default presentation modes and colors and fonts and adding logos and things like that. And then if you need to look at your entire presentation library and what's available to you and all of the different slides, and also adding additional custom slides if you need to, that's going to be available under the presentation library. That is all I have for you today. Did anybody have any additional questions about Bold Trail Present or Core Present? No additional questions. Okay. I'm going to leave you with one additional resource here. If you are on the BHHS Connect homepage, so this is your main dashboard. Remember, you can get to present by just typing present up here in that search bar if you need to find it. It's also available under the marketing section over here on the left. We've recorded this webinar, but we didn't go take a deep dive into things like the buyer presentation and the full presentation when you have both a buyer and seller presentation. It's the same thing, just has a lot more information in it. If you need additional training or if you need additional help on this, you can get it one of two ways. They do have a live training calendar over here on your dashboard. If you click on the live training calendar, it's going to, we're all in the Eastern time zone. Here we go. It's going to have all of the different topics in it. They actually have tomorrow a Bold Trail Present Quick Start, which is very similar to what we went over today, but you can certainly go ahead and sign up for that class. The nice thing about signing up for these classes is if you can't take it between 4 and 5 p.m., there is an option in the drop-down to watch a replay instead. They can certainly email you the replay or you can watch one right away. So if you do need to take a look at this class again, we've recorded it. You can certainly rewatch ours, but you can also get more information in the quick start from Bold Trail on here. You can also go into, there is a Bold Trail Present Advanced. So for those of you who are thinking about using this very seriously and you would like to get a lot more information on it, you can certainly do that. If you are in Bold Trail or BHHS Connect and you get stuck for whatever reason or you don't remember something, we're certainly happy to help you in web support. But if you want to get support anytime, there is this big blue bubble down here in the right-hand corner. And if you click that, it's going to open up their chat window. And it's going to start a chat with the actual people from Inside Real Estate, who are the people who control BHHS Connect, and they can certainly help you find something or adjust something. Or if you're not 100% sure how to do something and you need help right away and it's nice and live, you can certainly go ahead and click the blue bubble anytime. That is all I have for you today. Hopefully you guys have found this information really valuable. And again, we're happy to help you in web support. If you need to, web support at rwtown.com, or you can use any of the resources that are available directly in BHHS Connect and talk to Inside Real Estate themselves as well. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and thank you so much for coming.